Welcome to this information sharing video and first hands-on with the SimTask Farm Stick for PlayStation with me, MrSealyp. Ladies and gentlemen, fantastic news. I'm very pleased to announce that the Thrustmaster SimTask Farmstick-P is coming to PlayStation 5. Now, a couple of shout outs before I start. You'll have seen the thumbnail. Huge shout out to Teo and Ollie from Thrustmaster, who've been helping me out with this, keeping me in the loop of stuff, and an even bigger shout out to the Farm Sim guy, who made an introduction for me with me at FarmCon last year, because the Thrustmaster guys were there to chat about console related stuff. Now obviously you might already have the Farm Stick on PC, you may already have the Farm Stick on Xbox. It came out February 18th on Xbox. And they offered to send me one there, and I said, look, I play on PlayStation. As soon as you get a PlayStation version available, they were having some issues with it and couldn't get the PlayStation version to work at the time, but it's ready now. Pre-orders are available. You can pre-order immediately, and the SimTask Farmstick-P will release on June the 4th for you to actually just go out and purchase, but pre-orders are available now. Now, what I'm going to also say is the retail price is €119.99, €139.99 dollary dues, and 99.99 UK pounds, Great British pounds. Which I'm going to say, before people start freaking out, I know people say that's really expensive. This, I'm going to show you some pictures and stuff in a moment. I'm going to show you some pictures, some video footage and stuff. This is everything, the side panel. You remember the Saytech, which then became Logitech side panel, which I loved, I adored on my PlayStation. And then became not compatible on PlayStation anymore. This is everything that wanted to be. I mean, that was awesome at the time, and I swore by it. It was never supposed to work on console, but it did. This is designed for console, and it's brilliant. Is it an absolute necessity? No. Does it add a huge amount to what you're doing? Yes. Do you need other things to work with it? You don't. But it does specify that having the wheel and pedal set to go with it gives you the full immersion and the full range of everything it will do. Can it work on its own with a controller? Yes, it can. But I paid £120 for my Logitech side panel 5 years ago. I've had it a long time. 5, maybe even 6 years ago. So the fact it's $99.99 for this, the SimTask Farm Stick, I think that's incredible. It is absolutely amazing. So yeah, massive shout out to all those guys. The Farm Sim guy is an ambassador for Thrustmaster, and like I say, he introduced me to them, and cards on the table, full transparency. They sent me this stuff out to have a look at, to have a play with, to see what I thought about it, so I can inform you as I pass on this information about it releasing. I'm really excited. For me, it's like having the side panel back, but it's better than the side panel. I honestly, and that's not because they've sent it to me. They haven't told me what I can and can't say. I'm going to be honest, there's a couple of bits on here I'm a little bit not so sure at the moment. It could be something I've missed in the settings, but also you've got to bear in mind I'm on PlayStation. This is compatible PlayStation 5 and PC. On PlayStation 5, they're auto set. I've got some of the buttons aren't working, but you've got to remember, at the time of me recording this, this hasn't been officially announced yet and won't officially release until June the 4th, as I've already said. So it could well be that Sony, on the PlayStation, there may need to be like a driver update or something like that. I don't know. And there's a couple of bits. I'm going to show you in a minute when I show the video. One of the brackets I got sent for the thing, personally, I just think it's a little bit flimsy. I'm not raving about it, but I'm just giving my honest feedback on it. And in all honesty, I'm seriously considering donating the $99.99 to a charity anyway, because people say, "Oh, it's all right for you. You got it free anyway." I am genuinely that impressed with it. I would have bought one anyway. Would 100% have bought one anyway. So, you know, that's just what I'm going to say on the matter. So, take full control of any piece of farming equipment or heavy machinery with SimTask Farm Stick, a versatile and precise joystick featuring 3 directional axes, a multifunctional stick, hand throttle, and all-in-one control panel. There is a link in the description for more details on the products page. The SimTask Farm Stick is now compatible with PS5 and PC. At launch, the FarmStick-P is exclusively compatible with FarmSim25 on PS5, with additional games to follow. On PC, it's compatible with all games with fully customizable button assignment. The simtask-farmstick is a joystick specifically crafted for simulation games featuring heavy machinery, equipment and tools, with Farming Simulator 25 as its primary focus. Thrustmaster collaborated with Giant Software to integrate the FarmStick-P into the game, ensuring intuitive plug-and-play integration on PC and PS5. Now, like I say, they have sent me a wheel and pedal set as well, and some extra bits and bobs that go with this. I've got the T128 force feedback steering wheel and steering kit. There's a simtask steering kit, and they sent that as all part of a package. So you can buy the steering kit. If you've already got a wheel and pedals, you can buy the steering kit. The steering kit is a metal framework that bolts to your desk or your racing rig, whatever it might be, that gives you full adjustability of the steering wheel setup, so you can have it more upright to simulate more being in a farm vehicle rather than down further that you would do for a racing rig. So it's fully adjustable with that. A steering knob as well, which again I'm going to show you in just a moment. And all that is available on the Thrustmaster website. Now, on PlayStation 5, the simtask-farmstick is only compatible with Farming Simulator 25 at the moment. It says it and must be used with the steering wheel. Like I say, you can use it with the controller. If you're playing controller anyway, the other thing I will say at this point is I'm so used to playing with the controller, it's complete and total muscle memory. So when I'm showing you some of this stuff now, I've had this for a few days and I've been playing around with it. Breaking that muscle memory is incredibly difficult. I'm not a wheel and pedal guy when I play and record, because I find I'm more intuitive with the controller. So you can do controller and farm stick if you want to, but that's just what it says. So the multifunctional stick with 6 buttons, 2 rocker switches, 2 triggers, 1 mini stick and 1 thumb wheel. The stick is a multifunctional device allowing you to control all types of machinery right at your fingertips. The top trigger lets you toggle between driving and working modes to access 6 additional actions with your thumb. The joystick's base features a hand throttle and 18 buttons that are fully mappable to specific actions in each game or type of vehicle. On PC, the combo button lets you double the number of actions that can be mapped into each button in Farming Simulator 25. With its 33 buttons and different types of controls, simtask-farmstick is both a joystick and all-in-one control panel. So I say it's not mappable on PlayStation, but it is if you are using it for PC. Its ergonomic ambidextrous design lets you easily access the main features with comfortable handling, even during long sessions. Simtask-farmstick was directly inspired by the interiors of high-end modern tractors and farming equipment with realistic dimensions. Now it does say it's ambidextrous, so it 100% is. In the settings, if you go onto the website, if you get one, if you've already got one, there are various different manuals, and it runs through the procedure for switching over to make it left-handed or right-handed. It comes set as right-handed, but you can switch it to left, which I think as well makes it absolutely brilliant. There's nothing in the stick in its design that leans itself to being right or left-handed. It is the same both sides, so you can swap it over. Now, I've mentioned this already about a steering wheel. It's ecosystem friendly. Now, the ecosystem is the Thrustmaster selection of things available. You can use a simtask-farmstick in conjunction with a 128 or a 248 racing wheel and a simtask steering kit. They've sent me the 128. All of these are sold separately for total control and immersive experience, simulating the driver's cabin from farming or construction machinery. And as I said earlier, you can get the steering kit, or you can get the simtask pack. The simtask pack comes with the wheel, the pedals, the steering kit, the steering knob, all in one. So if you don't have the wheel and pedals, you can buy the whole lot in one big box, which is pretty cool as well. So I guess it's time then. You guys want to see what it looks like? I'm going to show you in one camera view. I'm going to show you with a free camera. Let's just say free camera. And then what we'll do is hopefully I get this the right way up. I'll show you what we've got, and then what we'll do is I'll fix it in position, and then we'll go through some. I can't show you everything, so I can't show you every piece of machinery in game, every single action, every single button. But what I can do is show you some of the stuff operating. So I'll have the stick showing. Well, let's get the stick open now. Let's do that. There we go. So this is in free mode at the moment, and then I'm going to fix the camera in position on the stick, and then you'll be able to see, as I'm playing the game, some of the actions it will do. And it, like I say, it does pretty much everything. There are a couple of buttons, like I say, that I am pressing, and I haven't found anything that's worked on them yet. But again, I haven't and can't try every single piece of machinery and equipment in game at the moment. And like I say, potentially at the time of release, this may get like a software firmware update type thing. So let's steering wheel first. There's the T128. There's the steering knobs. That comes as part of the steering kit. And then underneath here, we've got this framework. And this framework is this is all part of the steering kit. Now this has got loads of adjustability, so you can adjust your steering wheel. As you can see, this is sitting a lot flatter. If I turn sideways, this is sitting a lot flatter than it would do if you had it in a racing mode. So the steering kit allows you to do that. Let's bring it over this side as well. Got caught up on something. I'm a professional, can you tell? Yeah, so all this adjustability on this, and this is solid, this is metal, and it all bolts together, sturdy as anything. I mean, it is rock solid. This is not going anywhere. Now obviously there's no rumble function. I've always said that there's no feedback, haptic feedback on Farm Sim. I did try this on Gran Turismo actually last night, and wow, I mean, just yeah, really, really nice. But you can see all the various different controls and stuff are on here that you need. You've got your flappy paddles underneath as well. Let's see if we can get there. We've got our flappy paddles underneath that we can, for changing gear and accessing menus and stuff. But the bit you are probably more interested in is this. So here's the stick itself. So here's the stick. And like I say, it is solid. It's really, really well made. There's your PlayStation logo, look. From Thrustmaster. Now this is what I was talking about earlier, and this is me being just totally honest. That framework for the steering kit is metal, solid as anything. This is 3D printed plastic. And the only thing I've found I'm not a big fan of is it's just a little bit, I'm just really worried. It's not flimsy, but it does move. I'm worried about it snapping or cracking or breaking. I would rather have that been metal like that. I know that, you know, keeping costs down and printing that kind of thing, I get it. This is an accessory as well. I think this is $21.99, I think, for putting this on. This bolts underneath. There's a couple of bolts underneath here that bolt the whole thing in place. So let's have a look then. The stick itself, now it's already mentioned steering modes. We've got two triggers. Let's go underneath here. We've got triggers underneath here as well. Let's do that way around. There we go. So you've got a trigger at the top, trigger at the bottom. The top trigger is what changes the work mode. So you've got, at the moment, let's go like that. So in orange, that's drive mode. If I press the top trigger underneath, it goes white, and that's your work mode. So that changes your button configurations on here. We've got, if you look at the screen as well, that's your camera movement up and down. So we've got some camera movement, and we've got our change camera mode like that, which is pretty cool. And when it's white, so if I press that now, and if I move that dial, nothing happens. If I put it into work mode and then do the dial, that's our zoom in and zoom out. Which I find it's very, very smooth. This has got some what's it called, heart, and it's magnets inside here, and it's smooth as anything. I mean, like buttery smooth. Very, very cool indeed. Actually, what I probably should do is, let's zoom back in a little bit, and I'm going to take the camera off. And now what you also see here, while I'm showing you, I'll show you this. I was going to do this all from external, but so there's our movement side to side when we're on foot, forwards and backwards. And that bottom button, the bottom trigger, if you go forward, and that's in combination with, so you've got your forwards and backwards, your turn as you go. Like I say, I'm so used to my PlayStation controller, it's taken a bit of getting used to. We can go backwards as well, obviously, that kind of makes sense. But if we want to run, let's go back to that view. So do that and that. If I go forwards and then pull the trigger, the bottom trigger, that's how we run. And let's say it is smooth. I mean, silky smooth. Very, very cool indeed. So there's a few different buttons and controls on here, which we'll get into later on. I'm going to show you some of the options that how things work on this: raising and lowering of implements, turning implements on, Yeah, activation, that one toggles between your work modes. Down here, this is phenomenal. This is your tortoise and hare mode, pretty much like on real tractors, so I don't even have to accelerate or brake if I don't want to. I can accelerate and brake using that. Just dial that forward, dial it back. What I would say though is, don't forget, because if you dial that forward and then try and brake with the pedals that I've got down there, it won't stop. And I was thinking, this doesn't make any sense. Why is it not stopping? It's because I had that right forward on hare. So if you are going to use your foot pedals, make sure you pull that back before you try and stop. Just a bit of advice. Down here, these two buttons here, this is your tabbing between vehicles. What it's also got here, I know your controller has all this, but that is your start switch. That starts your ignition. Now that will only work as well if you've got your ignition in the settings toggled off. You know, so you have automatic ignition start. If you take that off, so you have to manually turn your ignition on and off, that will start and stop your vehicle, which is, I love that. We've got some menu options here. This is another reason why I'm going to absolutely fall in love with this, and have already fallen in love with this in the few days I've had it. As far as it goes with regard to recording, as a content creator, or you'll find the same thing as well, there are quick access buttons for entering menus. So I'm going to show you something now. If you look on the screen, and if I go to this button here, our circle, and do that, help window, haven't got to go into the settings, fiddle around, we can go straight in, help window, on and off, boom. We've also got this one here, map, toggle through that, map options, again without having to go into, you know, I mean, there's a controller option that as well. Your triangles for getting in and out of vehicles, your square for hiring workers and stuff. We'll go on to that in a little while later on as well. What I have found, like I say, I'm not sure. These two on the outside, I can't find anything that's operating with those yet. This option here, if you look on the screen as well, that takes us into our main settings menu. We'll talk about toggling in those in just a second. That toggles that menu on and off. If we come over to this one, now this button here as well, this button here is supposed to open up another menu. But on the steering wheel, there are the same buttons here and here. If I press it on this one here, look at the screen. So that's for taking screenshots, recording, that kind of stuff. If I do it on here, it's not doing anything. Now I don't know if that's because it's got technically two controllers hooked up, well three actually, because I've got my other controller over here. I have still got my other controller, and they're all working, so I can work in conjunction with each other. There are a few features again that I haven't been able to find a control for. For example, and again, this is in no way, I still 100% advocate this. And like I say, I would buy one in a heartbeat. And this is not a compulsory purchase. This is not me saying you have to buy one of these. I have said so. Not at all. If you have more pressing matters and you can't afford to get one, if you know, I had someone message me the other day and said I need to eat, I need to feed my family. That's, yeah. You know, when we're saying about things like this, or a new version of the game, or DLCs and stuff like that, all I'm doing is passing on information. I'm saying, look, this is available. It's very, very cool. But that's by no means me saying it's compulsory. You have to go out and buy one. No, you don't. Of course you don't. Is it an extravagance? Of course it is. Anything is. A racing rig, racing setup is an extravagance. Can you do all of it with a controller? Yes, you can. Would I still buy one? In a heartbeat. But again, that's just me. But build mode I can't find, because on the controller you've got your main paddle, this paddle here. If I press that, will take me into certain menus, and if I do, you know, various different configurations on there, will take me into build mode. I can't find an option configuration between this and this together that gives me that. Again, it might be something I've missed, but it might also be a mapping thing, which I'm assuming, like I say, at the time of release, there will be firmware updates and stuff like that, I would imagine. So, I mean, that's just a few of the options. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop my recording momentarily. I'm going to set the camera up pointing down at this controller. You won't be able to see the steering wheel as much. I'm mostly focused on the farm stick, to be fair, but what I will say is the steering knob on this, for me, in telehandlers, wheel loaders, I mean anything really, it adds such a level of immersion to it. And the steering wheel is very light to start off with, but it gets heavier when you're steering. The further the tighter you turn, it just adds a very, very cool element to it. But again, yes, it's an extravagance, but if you want to go the whole hog, full immersion, You know, I don't have wraparound screens. You know, like what I mean is a curved screen. I do have, for my recording setup, I have multiple screens, but I play and record off one screen. I don't have my game projected onto 3 screens to give me that full immersion. There, you know, you can do a racing rig from very, very cheap, just a screen, steering wheel and pedals, up to a, you know, 20, 30, 40,000 pound rig if you want to. It's entirely up to you. But anyway, and what I will say as well, this is very, very well made, sturdy, solid. Like I said, it's got it's very crisp. It's so smooth. It really, really is. And like I say, with that rest as well for your hand, you're not going to get that ache, like repetitive strain injury or anything in your wrist or anything like that. It is very, very smooth. So let's cut over and have a look at some equipment machinery. Like I said, I can't show you everything. I can show you some button configurations and show you how it works. But I'm very excited about this. It's very, very cool. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's a bit better. This is going to probably zoom in a little bit in and out as because obviously my hand going into position, but that's probably a better view. Like I say, you can't really see the steering wheel particularly. If I turn that around, you'll be able to see sort of just about, and you can go side to side with the steering. What I will say is, if you are doing this steering wheel and pedals, there are some menu options when you go into them, that when you go into the menu, it looks like you've got stick drift. And I was thinking that can't be right. Why is there stick drift? Why has it gone wrong? It's because my steering wheel was turned ever so slightly to one side, and in the menus, the map menus, the cursor was moving because the steering wheel was turned. So if you encounter that, the stick drift could be the steering wheel. Just something to point out. So we'll start off. We've already had a look at moving forwards, backwards, that kind of thing. On these buttons here, this button here, if I press that, we've got our jump, we've got crouch on there. So our forwards and backwards, let's just get, like I say, it's getting used to these controls, and let's run forward. As I can't show you everything, but I'll show you some stuff. That's for certain. If you can't see it, oh yeah, what do we need to open? Which will help this. Pressing our button down here, if we recall, that opens our help window. So we've got our help window open, and top left it's saying open door. So open door, this button here, just here. If I do that, open and close door, which is very cool. Let's just rotate round a little bit. I'm going to try and get us, you know, and it's just really an introduction to it to show you. Really, you know, when I first started, I was thinking, I'm not. There's no way I'm going to get to grips with this. It's just, you know, it felt so alien to me. So light switch is saying turn on shed lights. Again, that button is me sort of action really for that. If I turn around and look up, you should see our lights are on. Press it again, lights off. There you go. So this is just really for your movement around. And it does become, the more you use it, like anything, it's like when you first start using a controller. If you switch from PlayStation to Xbox, using a different controller, your brain is trying desperately to focus and work a whole new set of things out. Let's say you'll see this is not as smooth and fluid as I usually am with my controller, but accessing my vehicle. So, triangle button down here, press that, we're into our vehicle. Now, the cool bit, engine start. Honestly, already I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. So what we have got here, this button down here, we've got sort of like a D-pad configuration on here. It says L1, L2, you got R1, R2, but I say I can't get those two to work, and L2 I couldn't find anything. L1 we've already seen this does a menu, and we'll open that in a minute. I'll show you some, again, menu manipulation, but we won't go into, you know, go crazy with it. But this button here is our lights. So repeatedly press that, does our lights. Beacons, up arrow, no, not up arrow, side arrow. Up arrow attaches and detaches equipment, we'll show that. That's our beacons. Now obviously we can use our camera again, so we got our camera and we can change our camera angle for in-cab, out-of-cab, and if you've got multiple camera angles, depending on what you're on, we can switch between those as well. And then we've already said if I toggle my top toggle and put that light so that light's white, I've got my zoom in and out. So whether it's on foot or in vehicle, I've got my zoom in and out as well on there, which I can toggle. Now, steering is done on the steering wheel, but what we have got is our tortoise and hare. So what I'm going to do is just swing that round very quickly. Do I want to zoom in a little bit? Maybe just a little bit. Come up a little bit. There we go, just so you can see. Let's click that back. So if this dial here, I'm not touching my pedals at all. If I push that dial forward, and then pull it back. Now, depending on the vehicle, how heavy it is, I find the heavier vehicles do actually weirdly slow down faster. And I can set that. I've literally just pushed it forward a fraction. I will steer actually, probably should steer at the same time. And as I said, my steering is light to start off with, but it gets heavier the tighter you turn, which is very cool. I can then increase that right up, bring it right back, want to speed down, slow down quicker, bring it right back to almost nothing. Now, admittedly, I have got the camera bottom right is covering up the speed, but let's slow it down to stop. But I can still use my pedals. Now, something I'm slightly puzzled with, whether I've got it on drive mode or work mode. There's a button here, an orange button, that shows an arrow forward and arrow back. Now, in my head, I thought, okay, that's going to be for changing driving direction. So if I click that button and accelerate, it'll go forwards. If I press it again, accelerate, it'll go backwards. It doesn't. Whether I'm in work mode or drive mode, it doesn't do that. So again, I'm not sure if that will get remapped, or it's very strange that, yeah, that orange button there. So for reversing, I'm still having to use my pedal to go backwards. That's me using my pedals now, not using the dial. So I'm going to accelerate, my brake and reverse on my pedals, which is absolutely fine. So that's kind of your main vehicle controls, as it were. If I turn my ignition off, and as I've already said, I've got my tab buttons down here, so I'm going to tab between vehicles, start my engine. There we go. Now I already said that up arrow there, if I press that, detaches or attaches vehicles. Unfolding, if I come back up to my joystick here now, F1 unfolds my equipment. As far as filling things up and stuff like that, that sort of, there's a cog wheel sort of button there, I said already, that sort of starts your things and turns them on and off. That's almost like an action button. This button, the orange, I found is like an X button, and then the bottom below that, which changes between, if you look top left now, if I press that now, that's switching between tractor and implement. So that's your switching between vehicles, switching between vehicle options, that kind of thing. As you can see, we're back to the vehicle. Some actions you will still need to use on the wheel, which is just over here. So some actions I haven't found options for. If I do on my flappy pedal L1 and then R1 and then L1 and R1, so we can get our various different options, some of those still need to be used. Like for example, ridge marker says up on the D-pad. If I press up on the D-pad on this controller, that attaches and detaches my equipment. So some things I'm still going to need to use my steering wheel for, or as I said, my controller. If I bring my controller over, I've still got my controller hooked up, so I can still access with my controller if I want to. So don't feel it's got to be all or nothing. You can do combinations of. So there are some things I haven't found. Again, it could just be me not having found the options for them, not press the correct button configuration to do them. I don't want to put this down and say, oh, and people say, oh, well, if it's not working. That's not the case at all. Like I said, even with the couple of those buttons not working, a configuration of that and the steering wheel, or that and the controller, I've got all my options. Everything is still available. So turning this on, there we go. Dropping it down, sorry, don't want to fold it. Turn it on. Dropping it down is this middle button here. Roll forward. And away we go. And obviously I've got my steering. Now, if anyone's wondering at this point, let's roll that back. Stop that. I'm honestly, I'm so excited. I'm going to show you a couple of cranes and bits and bobs in a moment. Like I said, I'm not going to show you everything, but this is just very, very cool. So what I'm going to do, turn that off. We're going to raise that up, fold it up. Let's move the camera so you can see. Probably should have zoomed out a bit, shouldn't I? Let's do that. Zoom out. There you go. See a little bit. Right, let's turn the engine off. Did I turn the lights on that? Did I? Nope. Lights off. Let's tab again. Harvester then. Start button. Let's get it going. So, options on this then. We've got F2. If I press my F2 button. Pipe. F1. unfolds. That top cog. And we've got raise and lower of implement. It's all here at the touch of a button. I've then got my accelerator. I've got everything you need to do is absolutely here. And then I've still obviously got my camera options and all the things as well. All off of this one thing. And it's that fluidity. It's once you get used to these configurations and you're flicking between them, between your drive and work mode. Let's turn it off. Let's just lower the implements to the ground, put the pipe away and fold the harvester. It's going to become second nature, and it's far quicker to be bouncing between these. What I want to do now is actually, before we move on to another vehicle, show you a couple of the menus. So let's open that menu. And then we come to this here. So we've got our, we can manipulate through our menus using this. So our thumbstick, side to side. And I'm in work mode, I'm on white, so we can access these easier. And then this button here, the yellow, the orange one that I said, that's kind of my X button. And then the one just below it looks like a cylinder. Press that again, that's like my circle. So I can come in and out of a menu. I can make... I didn't mean to save that. Let's come back out of there. I was on saving. Let's go back onto there. On my white, then this, you've got these toggle switches up here, and the toggle switch. Oh, maybe I need to on that one. There we go. Toggle switch needs to be orange. I can toggle up my side menus. There you go, using that toggle switch. And then once I'm on whichever menu I want, for example that one, I've then got, I can with my thumbstick manipulate myself through the controls, and then with my joystick I've got movement of my there we go, zoom in and out on my map, and with my joystick I can manipulate myself around the map to look at stuff on there, but still able to toggle through and toggle up and down. Make sure, again, if you find you're doing something that normally works, just make sure you haven't bumped that work mode. This is not supposed to be a guide video. This is simply just looking at various different options, but we can go into every single menu, we can flick through every single thing we want, as you can see. We can pick and choose, then X and circle. You know, I know it's not X and circle. I know it's X and circle down here, but we have got X and circle on the steering wheel as well, which I was just touching, but obviously the camera's not on that. And again, that configuration, you've got options for everything. Let's go circle and come out of there. And if we come into this menu, so I'm pressing L1 on here now, which opens up your vehicle menu. Same thing. We've got our tabbing with our thumbstick, up and down with the thumbstick. We've got our toggle up and down the side menus with the toggle switch. So when you pick whichever one you want, come across whatever you want. If I press that orange one again, that takes us into the menu. I can press it again, takes us into our options, which we can then toggle ourselves through and have a fiddle around and see what we want to do. We can choose them by pressing that again, or we can back out the menus, pressing that button there, just come back out again. Like, not a guide video, but just to show you that all the controls are available. But as I said earlier, I can't find, if we do our L1 and paddle, that opens up our build menu. L1 and paddle. Then circle to bring it back out. On my controller, I can't find that option configuration in here. And like I said, I've pressed R1, I've pressed R2, I've pressed L2. What just happened then? L2. Boom. So it just comes down to, what else changed in there? L2, found one. There we go. So if we go L1, enable and disable straw swath, that just did that. See that moving on the back? I said it's not going to be. It's going to be something that I haven't used yet, that I haven't found yet. There'll be another piece of equipment. I'll press I'll press R1 or R2, and something will work. L2, enable and disable straw swath, and it's just a case of getting used to the controls and what they do. Okay, so. That was menus, scrolling through the menus, a few tabs on that. Now we get onto the nuts and bolts. Let's turn the engine off. And let's tab to, do I want to keep going that way? Which way did I go before? Ah, here we go. This is cool. I'm going to show you a telehandler as well in a moment. And, oh, that was what I was going to show you. I'll try and get it all done. So, start the engine. There we go. Engine started. So, we're on drive mode at the moment. If I click that, we've gone to work mode. We have got crane up and down, side to side, up and down like that. Then this toggle switch does our up, forwards and backwards like that. Now this was another one. I'm not sure, again, it's probably a button configuration I'm missing. When I tried this before I hooked the wheel up, if I pulled my bottom trigger, sort of the trigger, and then did this other toggle switch, I was able to like extend that boom in and out, and that's not doing it now. If I press that, nothing, it makes a sound, but then the boom didn't go in and out. So there's going to be a configuration that I've missed. I've tried it on both work modes. Just a quick addendum from future MrSealyp. I did not want to do Thrustmaster a disservice. I found the configuration option. If you pull the trigger and you push the joystick forwards or backwards, that's how you get the extension. So that trigger, the bottom trigger, it did have a function. When I was saying about pressing that toggle, I think in pressing the toggle I had accidentally moved the joystick forward or backward when I did it before, but then didn't replicate it. So that function does work. I can extend the boom backwards and forwards on the various different things I've tried this on. That's what it was. So I still need to have it in work mode, but if by pressing the button, so if I just use the joystick normally, up and down, left and right, no problem at all. But then once I press the trigger, and then forwards and backwards at the same time, so in conjunction, that's how I got that to extend. So I found it, I'm happy. But anyway, that being said, I can switch that on like that. Let's go back to our work mode. We've got our adjustment. What's also cool about this is, let's switch camera view. There's our in-cab, and I love the fact, and you'll see when we see the telehandlers, that immersion of when you're using your joystick and seeing the joystick moving in cab is just absolutely brilliant. Let's press that again and we're on here. So, watch this. Twist, twist, mashed potato mumbo. No, what's that? So there you go. There's our swivel of the head, which is absolutely awesome. Let's move the whole thing. Lower it down. Like I say, I can't work out what the extend is yet. I'm going to roll forward a little bit on my accelerator just to creep forward enough. There we go. Lower that to the ground a little bit more, so I'm right on the ground. And then my F1 is my cut. Raise that up. I can twist that head as well any direction while I'm doing it. Raise it up, move it side to side, whatever I want to do. Press cut again, depending on what my cut length is. Now my cut length I was still doing from my steering wheel. So L1, and you got drop tree, and then you've also got your change cut length and stuff like that. I'm doing that from the flappy paddle on the steering wheel, but and I'll be honest with you, the controls are, I know I've said buttery smooth so many times, but it just becomes so, you see our twist there, it's become so controllable. That's what we'll do. Let's back out of here a second. Let's try and change our camera angle. And the great thing is as well, when you're using a wheel and pedals, compared to using a controller, obviously, because the controller you've got both hands on it, so accelerate forward. I can manipulate my crane while I'm driving. So if you're doing bale work and stuff like that, I mean, it's absolutely spot on. Sorry, a bit further forward. So let's stop there. Let's turn the engine off on that. Let's tab again. So this is the one I wanted to show you. I mean, this is the one I don't know why I'm most excited about this one. Like I say, it's just a selection. Engine started. Let's unfold our piece of equipment. Just awesome. Raise and lower our boom. Twist on our piece of equipment. Let's move the camera around so we can see as well. There we go. So manipulation of our equipment, in and out, like that. Tilt. And then I think it was the toggle switch. Does that and that. Other toggle switch. Opens and closes. So as far as, like I say, the manipulation of what you're doing all at the same time, of getting used to that. But what, again, it's a small thing, but what I really liked about this, if I change my camera view and you look at the joystick, the other one had two joysticks, this has got one. I've got my hand on my joystick there. Oh no, you can't see it, can you? Ah, no. Well, you can kind of. Can I move that? Let's just move that over. Let's move that just here for the time being. Let's put it there a second. There we go. Let's try that. Look at the joystick. That, to me, that just added such a level of immersion. It was like, oh man, you feel like you're in a real, you know? And it's smooth. There's no clunkiness to it. You know, you feel you've got 100% control of whatever it is you're going to be doing. Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Let's come out of the camera view. I'll move that back down over there. There we go. Right, one last thing then. Let's fold that back away. Let's bring that back down to the ground. And obviously the driving as well, you know, with the steering knob as well, when you're in that view and you've got the steering knob on there. Now my steering knob is at the top, theirs at the bottom. And on this steering wheel you can't actually put it on the bottom. Sorry, I'm pointing on the steering wheel. But again, that immersion, when you're driving the telehandler and you've got the... I'm in heaven! I'm in absolute heaven. It's awesome. Come back out of there. One last tab, one last bit of equipment, then I'll sign off. Like I say, there is so much more to this. There is so much more you can do. There's all the equipment, all the machinery in game, all the stuff you can do. And I will reiterate this again. This is not a compulsory purchase, and this is me just saying, look, this is here. It's available to pre-order now. It will be available June the 4th to purchase. And this. If you know me at all, if you've watched my channel for any amount of time and you know how much I loved the side panel, this is me 100% genuine. I love this. I'm not saying that because it's been sent to me. I've been told to say that. I've told you some of the things I've had an issue with that I'm finding potentially a problem. And the thing is as well, when you go in and check on the manuals, at the moment, at the time of recording this, when I've gone in on the link, the manuals are for the Xbox version, not the PlayStation version, and not all of the controls are shown on there. So once the PlayStation version is announced, which is now, at the time of you watching this, and available to buy, potentially there'll be more stuff out there showing all the button configurations and options. And I've been fiddling around and I've been trying to get out as many different bits of equipment and machinery off camera to try and work out what all those things did. And as you just saw, that L2 button, I couldn't work out what it did. I had a piece of machinery, I pressed it and it did it. And I'm sure the R1 and R2 over this side will be the same. I'll find something for those, but I've been trying all sorts of stuff. Let's turn the engine off. Skip to last thing, because there's one thing I want to show you. Again, people may have questions about, and I'm sure you'll have questions about stuff I haven't shown yet. I can't show you everything in this video. So let's tab one last time. Start the engine. I'll unfold the piece of equipment, so we'll come back up to here, unfold it. Now, I guess one of the questions people are going to ask is, well, that's all well and good, what about... Oh, did I show triangle? I showed triangle, get in and out of a vehicle, yeah, triangle. My square button here. If I press the square button, that will hire a worker. Worker hired, and it's now going to go off and do its thing. I'm going to press the circle on the steering wheel just to stop that. Now, if I keep my finger on that, no different to when you press the button, it says top left activate worker, or it says mode AI worker hold. If I hold that square button, I get those menus. And the same as with all the other menus, I've got the option for all my adjustment using the various different controls, and then X is on that one, or you can do X on your steering wheel if you've got your steering wheel, or X on your controller if you've got your controller. So you can still do whatever you want to do with regard to workers. If I put that on steering assist and do OK, that all comes up. And what should happen now is that square button again, if I start to creep forward, it should, he says, well, I want that one. Creep forward, press that, bleep, on it goes. We're onto our line. I'm going very slowly at the moment. We can lower our implement by pressing that button there. Implement goes down. Let's increase our speed. So our GPS still works, our AI system still works for hiring workers. Let's zoom out a bit so you can see. Now as soon as I start steering, that'll come off that line. No different to how it is on game, no different with the controller or just the steering wheel. When I get to the end, I can slow it right down on my dial. If I want to, I can raise and lower my implement on here. So I'm going to dial that back to slow it right down. Raise my implement. Dial that back a little bit too far probably. I can make my turn. It'll bring me onto my next line. Once I come back on towards my next line, which is there, it's bleeped. I lower my implement back down again. I should have done it when I was straighter. Then speed up again. It all works, all off of here. And it's, yeah. So I just wanted to show that before I finished off. Right, let's scroll that back. Let's raise the implement. Let's fold the implement. Let's go into there. And just toggle that over. Press X on the wheel. And then I can drive off quite happily into the sunset. I'm not even touching the pedals, which is brilliant. I'll say reverse I will do. I'm still not sure about that button, that triangle button for forward and reverse. Maybe that's not a thing that it's supposed to do. I can dial that back again. Let's stop right there. Engine off. Exit. And I can walk away, come back towards. Let's do that. And place that way. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. That's what I'm going to show you so far for the Thrustmaster simtask-farmstick. As I've said so many times already, it is available to pre-order now. There is a link in the description that takes you to some extra details, but the Thrustmaster website, at the time of releasing this, I should have a link for that as well. You know, it is available. If you want to use it, it's great. I love it. I highly recommend it. And I hope you've enjoyed this, found this useful and informative in some way, shape or form. If you have, please give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free. And if you want to share this video, then of course, please be my guest. Whatever you should choose to do, as always, thanks for watching.